Story 1, The Beginning. My name's Nathan Wells, and for the past 15 years, I've been an EMT in a small Ohio town, driving ambulances through the quiet streets of my home state. This job isn't just about saving lives. It's about standing at the edge of something bigger, where life and death blur into moments that stick with you. There's a smell that clings to my uniform, one I can't shake no matter how many times I wash it. It's not the sharp sting of antiseptic or rubbing alcohol people might expect. It's something stranger, a mix of raw fear, shattered hope, and the fragile weight of what it means to be human. Even after 15 years, that smell still catches me off guard. 15 years ago, I was 25, fresh out of Ohio State with a business degree in hand. My buddies thought I was throwing my life away when I ditched the idea of a corner office in Columbus to become an EMT. You're wasting your potential, they'd say, but they didn't know about the dream that haunted me after my grandmother passed. In it, a man in a gray cloak stood silently by her hospital bed in a Cleveland community ward. He wasn't menacing, just there, waiting, as Grandma took her final breath. He touched her shoulder, and they both faded, like moonlight dissolving into morning mist. That dream came every night for 6 months after she died. In the last one, I woke up knowing she was gone. 15 minutes later, the phone rang, confirming she'd passed in her sleep. From that moment, I believed in something beyond what we can see, not the Hollywood ghost story stuff, but a thin veil between life and death, a place where we sometimes catch glimpses of the other side. That's why I chose this job, to stand close to that boundary, to touch the mysteries most people never see. My first shift, 15 years back, is burned into my memory. I was paired with Vincent Hayes, a grizzled veteran with salt and pepper hair and eyes sharp enough to cut through steel, like he'd seen every tragedy the world could throw at him. Vincent wasn't warm, especially not to rookies. When I showed up at the fire station in the heart of town, he sized me up from head to toe and asked, "You Wells, you believe in things that don't make sense?" The question threw me. I think there's stuff out there we don't fully get," I stammered, trying to sound steady. Vincent stared, like he was weighing my soul. "Answer straight, kid. You believe or not?" "Yeah," I said, firmer this time. A faint smile cracked his weathered face. "Good. 'Cause tonight, you're gonna see something like that." I slid into the passenger seat, heart pounding, doing my best to look calm. Vincent didn't say another word, and the night unfolded in a strange rhythm. We handled a chest pain call for an elderly man in Maplewood, a kid with a high fever in a Riverside neighborhood, and a minor fender bender on Route 42. It all felt routine until just before 3 a.m. When the radio crackled, Unit 14 respond to 23 Mapleshade, elderly male reporting chest pain. Code 3. Vincent let out a heavy sigh, muttering, "That house again. Something wrong?" I asked, a knot forming in my gut. "You'll see," he said, his voice low, like a warning. We pulled up to an old stone house, its slate roof dark under the moonlight, surrounded by a rusted iron fence and overgrown weeds. Not a single light glowed from the windows. The place felt like it was holding its breath in the dark. "This the right address?" I asked, my voice betraying a slight tremble. "No doubt about it," Vincent said. "This is the 8th time in 3 years we've been called here. Always an old man with chest pain. Doors never locked. We go in, climb to the 3rd floor, head to the last room on the left, and then nobody's there." He paused, watching my reaction. "Nobody," I echoed, a chill creeping up my spine. "Not exactly," Vincent said. "Every time we find an old man sitting in an armchair, looking like he's been dead for years, shriveled like a mummy. But when the cops show up, the room's empty, no trace." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay composed as Vincent led me inside. The front door creaked open with a gentle push, revealing a pitch-black hallway. "Mr. Carver," Vincent called, his voice bouncing off the silent walls. The only response was the faint whistle of wind through tattered curtains and the groan of the wooden floor beneath our boots. We climbed the stairs, each step feeling heavier, until we reached a long hallway lined with closed doors. Standing before the last door on the left, my breath felt thick, like the air itself was pressing against me. Vincent gave a nod, and I pushed the door open. Inside, an old man sat in a worn armchair, frail and hunched, dressed in a threadbare sweater. His pale blue eyes locked onto mine, piercing, like he could see straight through me. "You're here at last. Nathan Wells," he said, his voice raspy, like dry leaves rustling. Vincent froze beside me. He's never spoken before. He whispered, stunned. I stepped forward, clinging to my training. "Mr. Carver, are you having chest pain?" But the man ignored my question, his gaze unwavering. "You'll see things in this job, Nathan, things nobody else would believe." "How do you know my name?" I asked, my feet rooted to the floor. He gave a sad, knowing smile. "Because I knew you'd be the last one I'd wait for." Then, right before our eyes, he dissolved not with smoke or theatrics, but simply fading, like a light dimming in fog. He was gone. Vincent and I stood there, speechless, for what felt like forever. Finally, he clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Welcome to the job, Wells. This is just the start." And he was right. That night opened a door to a string of strange stories I'd carry with me, tales of the fragile line between life and death I've brushed against in 15 years behind the wheel of an ambulance. Story 2, the woman on Dark River Bridge, Ohio. 6 weeks after that eerie first shift, I hadn't seen Vincent Hayes again. Word around the Ohio fire station was he'd taken an extended leave for personal reasons. When I asked about the house at 23 Maple Shade, nobody would meet my eyes. Turns out, it was an unofficial rite of passage at the station. Vincent took every rookie to that place to test their nerve. Anna, a nurse with 8 years on the job, pulled me aside one day. "Some quit the next morning after going there," she said. "What did you see?" "Wells." I kept it vague, just a weird vibe. Anna laughed, clapping my shoulder. "That means you'll stick around." 2 months into the job, I got my first shot at driving the rig, paired with Sophie, a seasoned nurse who seemed worn out by the endless night shifts. It was a quiet evening, with only a broken arm in Oak Grove and a mild food allergy at a diner on Main Street to keep us busy. We'd pulled over for a quick coffee break at a 247 convenience store when Sophie sighed, staring into her steaming cup. "I hate nights this slow. Gives me too much time to think." Before I could respond, the radio cut in Unit 14 report of a woman threatening to jump off Dark River Bridge. "Police are en route. Code 1. I hit the siren and floored it through the empty streets of our small Ohio town. Dark River Bridge is an old steel structure, towering 150 feet above a black, churning river that nobody's ever survived falling into. When we got there, the streetlights caught a lone figure standing on the wrong side of the railing, clutching a cable, her body swaying like she was one gust away from letting go. "She's not waiting for the cops," Sophie said, her voice tight. "She doesn't look good," I said. "Sophie, tell dispatch I'm going in." I stepped out of the ambulance, the cold air biting my skin, the river's rush below sounding like a whispered lure. "Hey there, I called, keeping my distance. I'm Nathan, with the ambulance crew. I just want to talk." The woman turned her head. She was about 35, her hair a tangled mess, eyes swollen from crying, her face pale under the harsh light. "Stay back," she shouted, her voice shaking. "I'm staying right here," I said, keeping my tone steady. "I'm not here to force you. I just want to hear what's going on." "What's got you out here?" She broke down, her sobs choking her words. "It's too late. I've ruined everything." I inched closer, careful not to spook her. "What did you do, my job?" she whispered. I'm an accountant for a firm in Dayton. I embezzled money millions. They found out 3 weeks ago. My husband left me. My friends turned their backs. I've got nothing left. I swallowed, keeping my voice even. I hear how much pain you're in, but this won't fix it. You can still make things right. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. You don't get it. They come every night, the people who lost everything because of me. They stand in my room, staring with empty eyes, asking why I did it. Her words sent a shiver through me. You see them? I asked. She nodded, trembling. They won't leave me alone. They want me to pay. I didn't know if what she saw was real or guilt twisting her mind, but to her, it was as vivid as the bridge under her feet. Listen, I said, my voice firm but gentle. I've seen some strange things in 15 years on this job. Sometimes, the people who show up aren't there to punish you. Maybe they're trying to remind you to make amends. Maybe they want you to keep going, to do what's right. You believe me? She asked, a flicker of hope in her eyes. I do, I said, meaning it. And I know you can get through this. Let me help you. I took another step, holding out my hand. Come back over the railing. We'll figure it out, one step at a time. She stared at me, then down at the dark river below. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, she reached for my hand, her legs shaky as she climbed back over. Sophie rushed forward, and together we guided her to the ambulance, where she sat quietly, tears still falling. 6 months later, an envelope arrived at the fire station. Inside was a handwritten letter and a photo of the woman, looking healthier, standing in front of a community center in Cincinnati. She wrote that she was volunteering, helping people who'd lost money like those she'd hurt. They don't come anymore, she said. I think they've forgiven me. Thank you for believing me. That was one of the rare times in 15 years I felt I truly saved someone, not just their body, but their spirit. Still, I wonder were the figures she saw real, or just her guilt taking shape in this job. The line between hallucination and the other side is often blurry, but sometimes belief in something, anything, is enough to pull someone back from the edge. Story 3. The Secret at Willow Creek Psychiatric Center, Ohio. In 15 years as an EMT in Ohio, I've... Nathan Wells, grown used to the grind of night shifts, the kind that test your nerve and leave you drained. But some calls make you question just how thin the line between reality and something else really is. One of those happened 12 years ago, when I'd been on the job 3 years, at Willow Creek Psychiatric Center, a crumbling old facility on the outskirts of Dayton. That night I was paired with Clara, a nurse with less than 2 years under her belt, full of enthusiasm but green when it came to psych cases. We were checking equipment in the ambulance, parked at the fire station on Main Street, when Clara broke the silence. Hey, Wells, you believe in stuff like hell? I chuckled, caught off guard by the heavy question in the middle of a shift. Not exactly, but I think some folks carry their own version of hell in their heads. Clara studied me, curious. People say you've got a knack for picking up on weird stuff. I shrugged. Maybe I just pay closer attention. Right then, the radio crackled. Unit 14 respond to Willow Creek Psychiatric Center, Cedar Hollow, male patient, 32 self-inflicted injuries. Code 2. Clara sighed, buckling her seatbelt. I hate psych center calls. Sometimes it's hard to tell who really needs help. I didn't reply, but I've always believed some psych patients see truths the rest of us miss. Willow Creek was a red brick relic from the 19th century, all dim hallways and heavy iron doors. A nurse met us at the entrance, hustling us through corridors so quiet it felt unnatural. Patience Jacob Ellis, she said. Her voice clipped. He's been here 4 years for paranoid schizophrenia, usually stable, but tonight he clawed his chest raw, saying he's gotta get them out. Clara frowned. Get what out? The nurse shook her head. No idea. He's not coherent, just keeps scratching till he bleeds. We exchanged a glance. Self-harm wasn't uncommon in psych patients, but something about this felt off. When we stepped into Jacob's room, the scene hit me like a punch. Jacob, a wiry guy with matted black hair, was pinned to his bed by 2 security guards. His chest and shoulders were slick with blood from deep, jagged scratches. But it wasn't the wounds that stopped me cold. It was his eyes. Wide, lucid, desperate, like he was begging for someone to listen. Clara gloved up and checked the damage. No arterial hits, but he needs stitches fast, she said. I stepped closer, nodding to the guards. I'll hold his arms so Clara can work. As I gripped Jacob's wrists, he didn't fight, just locked eyes with me, sending a chill down my spine. Hey, Jacob, I said softly. I'm Nathan. We're here to take care of you. All right? He tried to speak, but all that came out was a hoarse groan, his throat raw from pain. Then, slowly, he raised a hand, pointing to his ear, then to mine, mimicking someone talking. You hearing something? I asked. Jacob nodded hard, then jabbed a finger at his chest. In there, another frantic nod. The nurse sighed. It's his delusions. He's always on about voices. But Jacob's clear, terrified eyes told me this wasn't just in his head. You're trying to tell me something, aren't you? I said. Jacob nodded, tears welling up. Clara, you almost done? I asked. 15 minutes to finish bandaging, she replied. I asked the nurse for paper and a pen. When she brought them, I held the paper steady so Jacob could write with one trembling hand. In shaky scrawl, he wrote, Not delusions, real. In walls, they're crying for help. The nurse read it and shook her head. He thinks people are trapped in the walls. But Jacob kept writing, his pen tearing the paper. I hear them when I skip my meds. They sob. They need me. I glanced around the room, white-painted brick walls, tucked in a far corner of the building. How old's this place? I asked the nurse. Over 120 years, she said. It was a tuberculosis hospital before it became a psych center in the 40s. A strange thought hit me. Any history on this room? The nurse shrugged. Not much. We rarely use it because the heating's spotty. Jacob's only here while the main wing's under renovation. Clara finished bandaging. Wells, we got to move him, she said. But I wasn't ready to leave. Something felt wrong. Clara, can you prep the rig? I'll stay with Jacob a minute. She frowned but nodded. Jacob wrote more behind wall. Secret room. They're trapped. I asked the nurse. What's he talking about? She brushed it off. Just his paranoia. But I noticed the room felt smaller than the hallway outside, like part of the space was missing. I walked to the wall Jacob pointed at and tapped it. The sound was hollow. Anyone know the building's layout? I asked. The nurse shrugged, but an older security guard spoke up. Back when this was a TB hospital, they'd lock away hopeless cases in hidden rooms. Sometimes they forgot about them. Jacob nodded fiercely, his eyes blazing. I pushed for the wall to be checked. 3 days later, a headline in the Dayton Daily News made my blood run cold. Horror uncovered at Willow Creek Psychiatric Center. Remains found in walls from TB hospital era. They'd discovered a sealed room behind Jacob's wall, filled with the bones of patients abandoned in the 1930s, left to die in agony. Jacob was transferred to a facility in Toledo and reevaluated. His new diagnosis wasn't schizophrenia, but possible psychic sensitivity. 6 months later, I visited him. He looked better, his voice still rough from healed scars. Thanks for believing me, he said. Nobody else did. They just doped me up to drown out the voices. You still hear them? I asked. He shook his head. They're at peace now, but sometimes I catch other voices from other places. I didn't know what to say. Maybe Jacob wasn't crazy. Maybe he'd been given a terrible gift hearing cries for help. No one else could. If you hear anything else, call me, I said. Don't hurt yourself, he nodded. And as I left, I wondered, How many others out there are labeled insane when they're just trying to tell us about another reality? Story 4. The Girl at Pinewood Apartments, Ohio. 12 years as an EMT in Ohio taught me that not every wound bleeds. Some scars cut deeper into the soul, and those cases leave me feeling the most helpless. One such call came 10 years ago on a stormy night in Dayton when I was paired with Lucas, a rookie nurse brimming with energy, always gushing about his young family, his pregnant wife and 3-year-old daughter. Man, Wells, can you imagine Lucas grinned as we cruised through Oak Grove? My girl says she wants to be an astronaut. When I told her girls can absolutely go to space, she cheered all night. I gave a polite smile. After 12 years, I'd heard plenty of coworker kid stories. You're not big on kids, huh? Lucas teased. Nah, it's not that, I said, eyes on the rain-slicked road. Kids are sensitive. They pick up on things adults miss. That can be unsettling. Lucas raised an eyebrow, about to dig deeper. When the radio cut in, Unit 14 respond to Pinewood Apartments. 18 Elmwood. 7-year-old girl. Serious head injury. Code 1. Damn, Lucas muttered. Kid calls are always rough. I flipped on the siren and sped through the downpour. Pinewood Apartments was a rundown complex in Dayton's rougher side, its walls stained, stairwells rusted. A woman in a bathrobe, eyes bloodshot, stood outside, waving frantically. "Hurry! She's in the kitchen!" she yelled. We grabbed our gear and followed her into a cluttered apartment reeking of mold and stale beer. "What happened?" Lucas asked. She fell," the woman stammered, her voice shaky. I was asleep, heard a loud crash. In the kitchen, a small blonde girl lay on the floor, blood pooling around her head, dressed in a faded green pajama set. Her skin was pale, almost translucent. Lucas knelt, checking her pulse and pupils. Severe head trauma, possible skull fracture. Pulse is weak. We need to move now. I prepped the stretcher, but couldn't ignore the old bruises on her arms and legs, marks no single fall could explain. "What's her name?" I asked. Emma Larson," the woman said, leaning against the wall, hands trembling. We secured Emma on the stretcher, stabilizing her neck, and rushed her to the ambulance. "You her mom?" I asked the woman. "Her aunt," she corrected. "My sister died last year. I've been taking care of Emma." "You coming with us?" I pressed. She hesitated. "I need to change." "No time," I said firmly. Reluctantly, she climbed aboard. Lucas stayed in the back, working to keep Emma stable. At Dayton Community Hospital, things moved fast. Emma was whisked to the ER. I pulled a nurse aside and whispered, "The injuries don't add up. There are older bruises." She nodded. "We'll call child services." As we prepped to leave, a doctor rushed out, his face ashen. "Where'd you find this girl?" "Pinewood Apartments," Lucas answered. "Why?" The doctor swallowed hard. "Because Emma Larson, age 7, from Pinewood, was brought to the morgue 4 hours ago. She died at the scene from domestic abuse injuries." We froze. "That's impossible," Lucas stammered. "We just brought someone in." "It wasn't Emma Larson," the doctor said. A chill ran through me. "Where's the woman?" I asked, turning to the waiting area. The so-called aunt was gone. 5 hours later, after endless questions from the police, we were cleared to go. In the ambulance, Lucas broke the silence. "Who the hell did we save?" I didn't answer right away. "Did you see her eyes?" I asked. "What eyes?" She was unconscious, Lucas said. "No," I murmured. "She opened them once, in the rig. Bright blue, glowing almost." Lucas stared at me like I'd lost it. "What are you talking about?" "I think we saved Emma's soul," I said. Lucas shook his head. "Don't mess with me. We touched her, felt her pulse, saw real blood. I don't get it either." I admitted, but a little girl died in that apartment. The aunt, probably the one who hurt her, called 911. We showed up, found something, And then the girl and the aunt vanished. Lucas went quiet, staring out the window. I'm not putting this in the report. Me neither, I agreed. A month later, the police arrested the aunt for murder. They found evidence she'd been abusing Emma for months, beating her to death in a drunken rage. I visited Emma's grave at a Dayton cemetery, a small stone etched with Emma Larson, 2015-2022, our little angel. Flown away. As I laid down a bouquet, a soft breeze stirred, and I swear I heard a child's whisper. Hey, Emma, I said softly. You're safe now. I never told anyone, not even Lucas. Some things are too personal, too strange. But ever since, I've paid closer attention to kid calls. In this job, sometimes we're not just saving the living, we're helping the departed find peace. Story 5. The Curse at Apartment 7B, Cedar View, Ohio. In 15 years as an EMT in Dayton, Ohio, I, Nathan Wells, have learned that some places seem to draw tragedy like a magnet. Not hospitals or morgues, but ordinary spots, a street corner, a park, or an apartment where pain keeps circling back for no clear reason. For our ambulance crew, that place was Apartment 7B at Cedar View, a tired old building in the heart of downtown. 9 years ago, I was paired with Mia, a veteran nurse with sharp eyes and a knack for staying cool under pressure. That night, the radio crackled. Unit 14 respond to Cedar View, 1 to 12 Walnut, Apartment 7B. Male patient, mid-40s, vomiting blood and seizing. Code 2. Mia let out a heavy sigh. That place again. 4th time in 2 years. I nodded, a familiar unease settling in as I drove through Dayton's glowing streets. What do you know about that apartment? Mia asked as we parked in front of the red brick complex. A 1940s relic with a chronically broken elevator. Just that every time we're called there, someone's on the edge of death, I said. Sure enough, the elevator was out, a under repair sign mocking us. Mia grumbled as we hauled our heavy med bags up 7 flights of stairs. At the top, a middle-aged woman stood outside 7B, pale and trembling. Thank God you're here, she said, her voice breaking. He's in the living room. He was fine, sleeping. Then he started seizing and spitting up blood. We stepped into the apartment, the air thick, like it was hard to breathe. The place was clean, with a leather sofa and landscape prints on the walls, but there was a strange smell, not rot, but something cloyingly sweet, like flowers left to wilt too long. In the living room, a man named Greg Harper lay on the floor, twitching faintly, blood pooling dark red on the carpet. His skin was a sickly gray, unnatural. Mia checked his vitals while I set up an oxygen tank. He your husband? I asked the woman hovering anxiously by the door. Boyfriend, she corrected, her voice shaky. We moved in 3 months ago. Any medical history? Medications? No, she said, shaking her head. Greg's healthy. He jogs every morning. Mia called out. Pulse is weak. BP's crashing. Breathing's erratic. We gotta go now. As we prepped the stretcher, Greg's eyes snapped open, not looking at us but fixed on a corner of the ceiling. Please don't, he whispered, his voice hoarse and strained. Don't take me. The girlfriend cried out, Greg, can you hear me? But he didn't respond, just repeated in a low, chilling tone. Who's next? Then he seized violently. Go. Now, Mia shouted, and we rushed Greg to the ambulance. On the way to Dayton Community Hospital, his condition tanked. He kept vomiting blood, and Mia had to intubate him. Floor it, Wells, she yelled. I pushed the pedal down, a heavy dread in my chest. We'd seen this play out at 7B too many times. Greg didn't make it. His heart stopped as we hit the hospital doors, and the ER team couldn't bring him back. Cause of death, acute internal bleeding. No clear cause. 5 days later, in the fire station break room, Mia handed me a stack of papers, her face grim. You need to see this. She'd had a friend at the city archives dig into 7B's history. Over 60 years, 24 people had died there, all from unexplained internal bleeding, unconnected, except for living in that apartment. The deaths came every 1 to 3 years. This can't be a coincidence, I muttered. Mia flipped to another page. Cedarview was built on the site of a World War I military hospital. 7B sits right where the main operating room was. A chill ran through me. Did you talk to Greg's girlfriend, Mia? Nodded. She said Greg had nightmares about being cut open alive, no anesthesia, for 2 weeks before he died. I thought of Greg's eyes locked on the ceiling corner. You think it's a curse? Mia shrugged. I don't know, but I wouldn't let anyone I know rent that place. 3 months later, we got another call to 7B. A young woman, moved in just 4 weeks earlier, had the same symptoms: vomiting blood, seizing, staring at that same ceiling corner. As we carried her out, I glanced up. A small crack, shaped like a scalpel, stood out, and I swear I heard a whisper. Who's next? I didn't tell anyone, but ever since, when a call comes for 7B, I volunteer to go, not because I want to see more tragedy, but because I'm still searching for answers to this endless, horrifying cycle. After 15 years, I haven't found them. Story 6. Mrs. Evelyn at Oak Haven Nursing Home, Ohio. Not every story from my 15 years as an EMT in Dayton, Ohio, is chilling. Some are strange, but leave you with a quiet warmth that lingers. One of those happened 8 years ago, on a rainy October night, when I was paired with Marcus, a veteran nurse with an infectious grin that could lighten even the longest shifts. It was a slow night with just 2 minor calls in the first 6 hours, a fender bender and an elderly woman with joint pain. Marcus was dozing in the passenger seat when the radio crackled. Unit 14 respond to Oak Haven Nursing Home, Pine Valley. Female patient, 87 shortness of breath. Code 2. I nudged Marcus. Rise and shine, sleeping beauty. He groaned, stretching. Man, I hate nursing home calls. Always feels like we're too late. Why's that? I asked, flipping on the siren. Old folks know when their time's up, he said, his voice low. They call not to be saved, but so they don't go alone. I didn't respond, but I knew he was right. Oak Haven was a 2-story building tucked in Dayton's suburbs, surrounded by ancient oak trees. Even near midnight, soft light spilled from many windows. A nurse met us at the entrance, guiding us through hushed hallways. It's Mrs. Evelyn Harper, she said. End-stage heart failure. This might be it. Mrs. Evelyn's room felt different from the usual sterile nursing home setup. It was cozy, with black and white photos from the 50s on the walls, smiling faces frozen in time, and a bookshelf stuffed with classic novels. A vase of fresh flowers sat on a table, and a vintage radio played soft jazz. Mrs. Evelyn lay in bed, petite, her white hair neatly braided, eyes half closed, her breaths shallow. Marcus checked her vitals while I prepped the oxygen monitor. Mrs. Harper, Marcus said gently. I'm Marcus, and this is Nathan, with the ambulance crew. Can you hear me? Her eyes fluttered, then opened, revealing a striking blue gaze, clear and bright despite her frailty. Of course I hear you, she said, her voice faint but sharp. I'm not deaf. Marcus grinned. My bad. You having trouble breathing a little, she admitted, but the nurses are making a fuss. I just need a rest. The oxygen monitor read 87% low, but not critical yet. We should get you to the hospital, Marcus said, though we both knew it might not change much. Mrs. Evelyn gave a soft chuckle, like a faint bell. We all know I don't need a hospital. I'm ready. I exchanged a glance with Marcus. With her condition, our job was to keep her comfortable. What can we do for you? Ma'am, I asked, stepping closer to her bed. She looked at me, her eyes piercing yet kind, like she could see right through me. You see them, don't you? I froze. See who, the ones who've passed, she said matter-of-factly. I can tell you've got eyes that notice the line between here and there. Marcus shot me a curious look, but I gave Mrs. Evelyn a small nod. Her face lit up with a radiant smile. I knew it. Is anyone waiting for me on the other side? I swallowed. Her question hitting somewhere deep. It wasn't in the EMT handbook, but her sincerity demanded honesty. I don't see everything, I said carefully, but sometimes I feel them. She nodded, satisfied. I hope George is there. We were married 58 years before he passed. Marcus checked her blood pressure, trying to hide his unease with our conversation. George'll be there, I said, surprised by my own certainty. And your son, too. Her eyes widened. How do you know about my son? I realized I'd slipped. I knew nothing about her family, but a strange instinct had spoken through me. Sometimes I just sense things, I admitted. She nodded, tears glistening. My boy, William, died in a car wreck in 1980. If you say he's there, I believe you. Marcus cut in. Mrs. Harper, should we take you to the hospital? She shook her head. No, thank you. I want to stay here, with my memories. Marcus nodded and stepped out to update the nurse. I stayed, holding Mrs. Evelyn's hand, her frail fingers warm against mine. You're not afraid of death, are you? She asked. I thought for a moment. Not of dying itself, but the pain it brings to those who go and those left behind, that scares me. She smiled. Wise words. Pain's just proof we've loved deeply. We sat quietly, the jazz filling the room like a gentle embrace. Do you see anyone here now? She asked, her voice dreamy. I glanced around, seeing only photos and furniture at first. But then, in the corner, the air shimmered, like heat rising off summer pavement. Two shapes took form, a tall man and a younger figure beside him. I think George and William are here, I said, my voice catching. Mrs. Evelyn closed her eyes, a serene smile spreading across her face. Good, I'm ready. I squeezed her hand, staying by her side. Marcus returned, but I signaled him to hold off. Mrs. Evelyn took a deep breath, then let it out softly. No more followed. As she passed, I saw a younger version of her, vibrant and glowing, step toward the corner. The tall man opened his arms, and they embraced, the younger figure close by. They faded into a warm light that didn't belong to the room. You okay? Marcus asked as we left Oak Haven. Yeah, I said, gazing at the starry sky. Sometimes, this job isn't about saving lives. It's about being there when someone finds their peace. Marcus didn't press, and I didn't explain. How could I describe the look on Mrs. Evelyn's face when she reunited with her family?